Greetings, brothers and sisters of the nonprofit world. As Jane just shared, we wear many hats, but today we're here to talk about the Beautiful City campaign, which was a campaign on billboards with revenues from that going towards art in the public sphere. And to wrap up a 12-year movement in 5 minutes is very difficult, so we've decided to show a video that will let you kind of get a sense of the energy and the feeling in it, some of the quick facts. So there's about a minute video, and then we'll go into what made it a success.
To allow this moment to happen, because I think this is a game changer for the arts in the city.
In January 2013, Councillor Gary Crawford put forth a motion to use newly created revenues from the city's billboard tax towards arts funding in Toronto. This tax, conceived and orchestrated by the arts community, can bring in up to $11.5 million per year for our city. Council's repeated promise of a $25 per person investment in the arts can now become a reality. We held a collections jam at City Hall featuring Julie Black, Shad, Solitaire, and many more artists passionate about the state of Toronto's arts. And 2 days later, Councillor Crawford's motion was passed, marking a historic win for Toronto's cultural history. Beautiful City, an alliance of over 60 arts, culture, and youth organizations, was a leading force in pushing the billboard tax forward over the past 12 years. Beautiful City believes in the power of art to build healthy, economically vibrant, inclusive, creative communities. Beautiful City recommends that this new arts funding be focused on meeting the following objectives. Number 1, celebrating diverse voices and activating art programs across Toronto. Number 2, creating and building ownership of vibrant and healthy public spaces. Number 3, supporting Toronto's living artists. Number 4, building the capacity of our young people. Stay connected with the movement at beautifulcity.ca. Visit the Take Action page and tell us how you think the billboard tax money should be invested in the arts. Your voice is important.
So this is the city decision-making process according to the Office of Public Engagement. It's sort of a simple linear process. You can see that there's actually no arrow for public-initiated advocacy, which is interesting. It's sort of like maybe a policy factory, where it's simple and linear, and then good stuff comes at the other end. This is kind of how we actually saw it. It was more of this kind of like crazy spin cycle that was driven by PR, and it was more of like a policy washing machine. And I was sort of stuck on the delay and defer cycle. So it is actually possible to transcend that, and that's I'm going to talk a little bit about how we were able to do that.
There is a way to come out of this cycle without losing all your socks. And you know, what we found is over 12 years, one of the big things about it is about sustained public push. And the way that we were able to do that was in a variety of different ways. So one of the top ways is we started to connect with technology and the ability that technology has to, you know, we had things going on like text. So we're sitting in council chambers and a councilor will say something, and then we had a text message machine that would send out text messages to all of the people that were following this. And then by the time that the councilor was finished their speech, their office already had 100 calls. And they were dealing with that for a month afterwards, calling everyone because they have to call everyone back. But we didn't only do that. We didn't only use democracy, what they call democracy 2.0. We coupled that with very simple newsletter updates, petitions, phone tree systems. So it was a mix, a hybrid of the two, technology but with traditional-based things. We also found it was really important to have academic foundation. So we had Ipsos Reid surveys done, public polls, doing a lot of academic research, but then flipping that and being able to communicate it on a grassroots level through like extremely, you saw the video, so the energy of the event, we were able to communicate that and give that to the people in a very digestible, fun way, while also having it on paper, very clear and in points, and giving it to the policymakers that needed the information to be able to direct it in council. As you also saw, everything was completely branded. This was a branded campaign. There was a logo, there was a color scheme, there was intention behind the way that we were going to do it, so that any time that we were going up against the billboard companies, they obviously have a brand, and each brand that was up there. So we had to come up with our own strong brand to be able to, at an instant, people felt the vibration of what the core values and what the messaging was, and we were able to really distill the messaging into key points that people were able to take home and make it themselves. Which goes into the last point. There was a solid group that was unified. There was 60 plus organizations, but there was definitely a steering committee that brought everything together, that was able to articulate those core pillars of the messaging, and then be able to carry it forward. And we had some 4 kind of funny groups. We had one that was called the interference group, and their job was to just continually disrupt. We had a press committee, we had a policy committee, and then we had a mobilization committee.
So some of the other things that really made success were the geographic spread of organizations. Not only different sectors were participating, but also having different organizations in different parts of the city that were able to match up with councillors and keep them in line. Another thing was sort of this political learning process that we built into the process. So we really made sure that while we were doing, we were also teaching. So say if we did a session, a rally around the budget, then we also made sure that we had opportunities for people to learn about the budget process. And that was really important because it sort of built in a little bit of succession planning for when we started to burn out a little bit, but also allowed for other young people to take the tools we developed and use them for their own initiatives. Another important thing was that it was nonpartisan. This was an initiative, the first councillor that I met with was Olivia Chow, and it was actually passed by Rob Ford. So we really tried to make a really broad spectrum of people we worked with. We made sure we had really strong ethical, legal, social, and aesthetic arguments, and economic arguments, and we used them in concert in different situations. So we made sure that those were quite well distilled and easily communicable. Our network of contacts in the city, we were really lucky with this long term to build really great relationships with people in the city staff workers, EAs, politicians, councillors, and that's what really carried it forward in a lot of cases and mentored us and taught us about how to navigate the city. And I think another really important thing was the idea of embodying the change we wanted in the process. So every time you came to a Beautiful City event, we made sure we had really strong, diverse voices. We made sure it was really fun. We made sure that there was lots of music and dance and art. Those are the major things.
And we always paid our artists. And what Devon was saying about being in the city and knowing a lot of people in the city. Devon, you walk into City Hall with Devon, you think he's the mayor of the city. The way that it goes down. But yeah, we're here for any questions, and yeah, we're more than happy to share more experience.
Well, tragically, there isn't another half hour. In fact, I'm sure people have questions. It's very inspiring. But if I could just tie in something that we had in this session, which is the open data question. Did you access open data as an aspect of your campaign? Can you be a poster child for that? It's a risky question, but did you do that type of research?
There is one of the things we used was the city billboard lobbyist registry, and there was a particular period right before some of the critical votes where there was over, say, 80-some meetings from the different lobbyist groups from the billboard companies within the space of about a month and a half, and so we were able to go into that in our interference group. They published sort of the bios of all the different lobbyists and in various media sources. And we also made a billboard lobbyist brand hand sanitizer for after councillor meetings and distributed it throughout the different offices and people where councillors
Removes stubborn grease.
It was a way of sort of cleansing yourself after the 80-some meetings, because they were basically, they were overspending and overplaying their hand like crazy. So, and they were clogging the hallways of City Hall. So it was a way that we kind of, almost like a keto, where they were using their overwhelming force to try to stop us. We were able to sort of step out of the way and push them onto the ground.
Fantastic. Well, and humor, a great weapon. So it was an amazing campaign, and it's so fantastic it actually went through. So thanks for your perseverance, and thanks for the example.